What's going on, Guardians? It's Tizzle here. So in this video, I will be showing a solo flawless clear of Pit of Heresy. I actually just finished a commentary and realized my video settings were off, so I am re-recording this. So that's fun. But anyway, this is my solo flawless clear, and I'll be fully upfront. It's not actually flawless. I spliced in the final boss fight because I was trying to get a one phase and I just couldn't do it no matter how optimized I was, which I thought was weird. And it did inspire me to make a video, which you may have seen, talking about the dungeon the dungeon boss's health pools and how Bungie increased them in the final shape. And they didn't really tell us this. They mention all this surges and power deltas and all these things, but they did not say that they just outright buffed the damage of some of the dungeon bosses. And Pit of Heresy and Prophecy is where it's definitely most noticeable. That first boss in Prophecy is much tankier now, and Zulmak in here is way tankier. I used to be able to one phase him pretty, I wouldn't say easily, like I was still optimal, but I would do it before he was even kneeling type of thing. And this, I couldn't even get the one phase. And then you have to dip out when he takes that knee because then he'll explode and kill you. So I was solo flawless up to the boss. And then, like I said, I really wanted to get a one phase to kind of show the strat to use. And this was the build I wanted to use. I'm sure there's builds out there that could do it. But this is a very safe build. And safety is more important in a solo flawless than pure outright optimal DPS. You want ease of use DPS for solo flawlesses, and there's nothing wrong with a two phase, especially in this dungeon, because it's really quick to get to damage phases. In Ghost of the Deep or even Duality, they have mechanics that can kill you, so shaving phases off your boss damage is quite helpful. But in this one, it's not too threatening leading up to damage. So it's really not a concern that we have to two phase. But yeah, this boss is definitely tankier than he was pretty much in the last like 2-3 years. Because when the dungeon launched, obviously we were much less powerful. So his boss health pool felt bad because we just weren't as strong. But in the last like 2 years, we've been very, very strong. And anyways, he now feels much, much stronger. So that is because he got over 1 million more health. He's over 3 million health now, where in the past he was just under 2 million. So that's actually quite a lot of damage to make up, especially because it is a 45-second damage phase, but you do have to kind of stop damage to deal with those cursed thrall, and they kind of spread out. So if I could maybe deal with them all at once really quickly, it'd be a little easier, and maybe I could squeeze out the one phase. But yeah, I was just having trouble just putting together a perfect damage phase, and it is what it is. But anyways, onto the mechanics. I took out that wizard, and now we're low on the sword ammo. So then I just come back up to where we start. You can find those sword bearers on the bridge as well, but I just know he's guaranteed always going to be at the start. And then we had to backtrack this way anyways for the other two symbols. That's why I started on that one symbol. So there's a little bit of strategy here in like picking which symbols to go to first. And it was really lucky that I got the wizard first, because the wizard is the mini boss that takes up the most amount of sword ammo. So now we're just going to sword skate over here. And then all you have to do is take this guy out. And then just the mini boss. So the wizard, you have to do the projectile attack. The shrieker, you're just blocking. So I like to go into this back corner kind of. And then, yeah, the shrieker's shooting us. We get the kill. And then I just back out. I don't even bother taking on those ogres. If you start shielding right away, you can take it out kind of before the ogres really aggro onto you and they start like making you miss your aim on your reflecting your shots back to the shrieker. So now we just have the knight left. We're gonna come over here. Normally I would have kept my sword in hand because I did have the super, and the super allows you to deal a big chunk of damage. But there was an ogre there and a sword bearer and the pit keeper. So I just went ahead and popped my super. It's just going to make us take a little bit longer on this guy, but that is not a big deal. So here I'm going to proc Radiant. Radiant does buff your sword swing damage, which is nice. So you can see I was hitting 12, 168 there. Now we're Radiant. And we're hitting 15, 210. But then you saw on the wizard, I was kind of talking about other stuff, but I did try to weaken the wizard with Buried Bloodline. And it did go purple, but weaken does not work on them. But Radiant does, because I guess this counts as a weapon. So yeah, try to get Radiant if you can. It's really easy on that knight because all those thrall are around him. And with this build, it's very easy because we have Facet of Dawn. So every time we get a melee hit, we're going to become Radiant for 5 seconds. We also have Radiant Orbs, where when we pick up an orb, we get 10 seconds of Radiant. So that's really nice. And now we just take this guy out, and then I threw the nade there, and then we get a few kills. And that's going to give us Amplified, which is nice because it's just going to allow us to get to the maze that much quicker. This is a really quick dungeon to solo flawless. I've always quite liked this one. It was my first solo flawless ever. It's pretty quick. It used to be quite challenging, like the Chamber of Suffering was really challenging and stuff. So yeah, just a good like beginner solo flawless, not too long, not too many damage phases, quick to get to boss damage. Like Ghost of the Deep is kind of the opposite of that. Terrible pacing, very long damage phases, very long to get to the damage phase on Samuma. Ekthar is not so bad, but yeah, basically this dungeon has good pacing. It could use one more boss fight probably, but it is what it is. So in the maze here, I always follow this same route, and it works for me, but you just do what you're most comfortable with. So oftentimes it's nice to just go invis by the ogres, and I don't do that here, but I will say, so I talked about how the health pools are more on the dungeon bosses, specifically the old dungeons like Pit of Heresy and Prophecy. It's very, very noticeable. That Phalanx Echo is very beefy now. But anyway, yeah, so I have Amplified, and we've got Galvanic Armor on the artifact, so that was giving us some damage resistance, which was nice for when he slammed. But when I come back the other way, I don't have Facet of Protection, like I have it on, but we can't proc it because we're not surrounded by enemies. We don't have any Void Overshield, but again, I have that on with Facet of Purpose, because we're running a Void Super. But look at how hard this Ogre melts me here. Like, it's not quite as bad as it used to be before the damage resist changes that started in Witch Queen, but he was actually beaming me pretty hard there. And I talked about in that dungeon boss health video how certain enemies also feel like they hit harder. Zulmak's fire attack, it used to hit super hard. Now it feels quite hard as well. So this was the wrong spot. It's because I ran so far back because I was just trying to play my life. But anyway, we did proc Amplified, so now we're a little more tanky. Geez, I kind of forget what I was saying. But yeah, certain enemies hit harder. So Zulmak, his flame attack, and these ogres were hitting hard. And also the final boss of Warlord's Ruin, he feels like he hits very hard as well. So yeah, it's kind of dungeon dependent, but yeah, you might notice it. So here, if I didn't block with the sword, I would have died, and then I could have dipped back into cover, but I figured I could Eager Edge by. Unfortunately, my Eager Edge wasn't there on the first swipe, so I almost died. But yeah, what I should have done was just taken cover where I had just come out of, because that would have been safe, and then just recover my health in there. But I played a little aggressive and a little risky. I got away with it, but if you were attempting a solo flawless, don't do that. And so here is the final Void Charge. So we're just going to dunk on the right side. And then we're running double Rocket Sidearm, which have great ammo economy. And then we have the Insurmountable Skull Fort. So we're literally just killing every low tier ad just with our melee. So I don't even bother wasting a rally flag. We just get right into the encounter here. So you have Curse of Suffering, and I believe you take more damage the higher the stacks you get. So you want to dunk the charge, and then that's going to put you back at Curse of Suffering ×1. And then there, I also have Void Hegemony, so I killed a weakened target, because once you get Devour with Buried Bloodline, you can weaken targets. And then Void Hegemony, when you kill a weakened target, you get a Void Overshield. So yeah, we've got Void Overshield, Faceted Protection, and Galvanic Armor. So lots of damage resist. So you're very tanky with this build as long as there's enemies around, which they pretty often are around, except for like during the boss damage. But that's about it. And the crappy thing is, during boss damage, if you use your melee on Cursed Thrall, they seem to die to the explosion and not your melee, so it actually steals your melee charge, because Skullfort, as long as you get a kill, right, you get your melee back, as you can see right there. But exploding units are very weird in this game, so you don't get the kill. Just like sometimes when you kill like Exploder Shanks, say I got a double kill with my Rocket Sidearm on a couple Exploder Shanks, or say I just got a kill and I wanted to activate Kill Clip or something. You won't be able to get Kill Clip because the Exploder Shank dies to the explosion and not actually your weapon. You'll notice it in game, and it's very annoying when it happens. But yeah, it's just something to be aware of. That being said, we still do want to use our melee on those Cursed Thrall in the boss damage phase, because it will make an orb, because we've got triple heavy-handed. That's one annoying thing. Diamond Lance, sometimes I went to dunk it there, and I accidentally picked up my Diamond Lance because it was too close, but that stuff happens. But yeah, you do still want to use your melee during damage phase, because it will give you Radiant, and it will make an orb, thanks to heavy-handed on our gloves. And we want to make an orb because we have Radiant Orbs, and then we have Powerful Attraction, so we can pick up that orb with just a quick little thruster. So that's really good for keeping Radiant up during the boss damage phase, because this phase is actually pretty long. It's 45 seconds, but you do have to stop dealing damage to deal with the Cursed Thrall. He moves around a lot. He throws that fire at you, which is pretty dangerous. So he's more dynamic than most dungeon bosses, I would say. Like, he's one of the toughest dungeon bosses to tee off on. Like Samuma, once the ads that are spawned are dead, I beat Samuma with Whisper of the Worm. You would never really try Whisper of the Worm on this boss because you have to be moving so much, and it's a pretty close range fight. So yeah, it is a longer damage phase, but you do have to be very careful because there is potential for you to die. So there, I'm Curse of Suffering ×2, and then we go down to ×1. And then, like I said, as soon as we dunk it, we turn around and we can just melee the ads, which is super, super nice. And like, look how easy this ad clear is. And then, like I said, we're making orbs to get Void Overshield thanks to our one fragment. So there, that was unfortunate. That guy died because it ate my melee. But we're on the last one anyways, so once we dunk this, we're chilling. But if you do lose your melee like that and you do need it back, you can just pop Transcendence and it gives you a full melee charge. So that's kind of how you get around that. So this part, I've never bothered to learn the pathing. So when we jump down, I always just wait for it to go by me, and then I jump to the next level. And then I wait for it to, or then I jump to the next level, then I wait for it to go by me again. So I'm waiting on that lantern, now it goes by, jump to the next level. This is the safest way to go down, and again, safety is crucial in a solo flawless, obviously, because this is one of the few parts where you can die. So those symbols there mean nothing to me because I've never learnt this part. I think it's called the Harrow. But I kind of just run around and find two of the things, and then I actually looked up a map just so I kind of knew what direction I should be going. So that's the way I always go. I start right, and if there's a Shrieker on that right side, that means there is going to be a wizard over there. But this time there was no Shrieker, so nothing on the right side. So now I'm just bouncing over here, avoiding all that stuff. I did see a red ping on my radar though, so I do want to get over there. But again, I don't know the paths to get over there. So I figured it'd be right there, but it is not. It's blocked off by a wall. So we're just going to go around, and there's the enemies. But that's not the right enemies. That is a knight. But usually when these enemies are around, that means the wizard is close, and there is the wizard. So Buried Bloodline is nice here, because if I would have proc Devour on that night, then I could have applied Weaken, and it will just like 2 or 3 shot. But again, I highly recommend Xenophage for Chamber of Suffering and this part. But it is really nice to have a sword here, just in case you need it, and for getting to the boss quickly. But yeah, Xeno can like 1 or 2 shot those wizards, so it's very, very good. So now we get more red pings on the radar, so I'm going to head this way, and yep, there is the wizard. So I'm just going to shoot him, but unfortunately he kind of backed up into a weird spot, and sidearms are projectiles. So sometimes they like have collision with environment. Even if you're not actually hitting it, it will still hit the wall or invisible wall. So now we're 2 down out of, and 1 more to go. We're just gonna hop our way over. And again, I don't know where I'm going because I don't know those symbols, but then I look up here and I call that symbol ice cream. So then I just pulled up a map on my side monitor. So that's what I'm doing here. Pulled it up on Google Images. I searched the Harrow. It showed me it's at the back left or front left, however you want to call it. Basically where you start. If I had went left, I would have got it right off the bat. But like I said, my rotation is I just always go right and then just kind of run around and look for the red. So anyways, we see the red on our radar. And a nice melee kill. Rock Radiant. Sadly, they all like backed way up, so the Diamond Lance didn't kill any of them. And there is the last guy. And that's what I was saying. How, so I proc Devour off this knight. Now look how easily it takes out the wizard. So I always use Xenophage. So that's why I just wanted to try something a little different. And I wanted to basically use the same loadout through the entire dungeon. And I pretty much did. Like I said, I literally only switched to Edge Transit at the boss. So sword up to the boss. Works very well. Highly recommend. So now we just keep doing the jumping puzzle. And here's, like I was saying, here's where the Eager Edge sword is really nice. Because you can just Eager Skate. Moves really quickly. I thought the banner was up here, but it is not. So I was a little sketched out at first. We Eager up here. Switch to Edge Transit. And then, like I said, I killed myself after my phase. But there's the stuff I switched. And then I also switched to Strand and Void Siphon so that I can stack Void Weapon Surge going into damage. Because you will definitely want your surges for damage. And I wanted to do no loadout swaps. So you can hold your armor charge. And I absolutely could have done that and then just do a quick loadout swap right before damage. But my whole goal with these solo flawless guides this season was to do it without ever having to loadout swap. Just to make it easier. It's not more optimal, but it's easier for the players maybe on last gen consoles who loadout swaps are slow for, or they just don't want to bother with that. That was the purpose of these guides. And it was to see how the dungeons are playing post Final Shape now that we have Prismatic. Because, yeah, I figured Prismatic would absolutely melt these bosses, but like I said, they raise the health on some of them. So what I'm doing right here is different from what I normally do. Normally, I'm just taking out those 3 bosses right away. So right there, you saw I had 24 Edge Transit. So I finally understand how Envious Assassin works. Basically, I have 8 in the mag normally, and then this is the rotation I always do. I always start with the Shrieker, and then I run over to the Wizard, because hopefully by that time I have my super, or I'm close to it, and then that does a lot of damage on the Wizard, and the Wizard is the most threatening of the mini bosses. But yeah, what the heck was I talking about now? Can't even remember. Sorry, I got very little sleep last night, so my brain is pretty slow. But yeah, there you see the super does a lot of damage. And like I said, Radiant would also be working, but I don't have really a way of proccing Radiant unless I picked up an orb with Radiant orbs. But I can't drop the sword to get Radiant because then I would lose my super. But yeah, I was talking about stacking Envious Assassin. So basically, I'm using double special, so I think it's like 5 special kills, but I way overdid it. I did like 10. So basically I start with 8 because I have backup mag on, and then And I think I have mini frags or something, which increases my drum by 1. So then I go from 8 to 16. Then when you pull out your edge transit and you see 16, then you can stow it again and get a bunch more special ammo kills. Again, I think it's 5, but I was just getting a whole bunch just to be safe. And then when I pulled it out again, then I had 24. So after 16, do not pull it out until you've done all your shots. And even before then, from 8 to 16, you want to make sure you get everything you need. So like I was saying, I got Strand Siphon on the helmet, so I'm making orbs here. So now we're full up. And then there is an Acolyte. And then I double check my edge transit. And now I should be reloading my guns, but I'm not because I'm terrible for that. So there we make an orb in the boss room, which is really nice to have that sitting there for us. And then we're just going to make one more orb to top up our armor charge. So yeah, a little more setup than I normally do on this boss, but it's worth it. And then here I'm popping Transcendence, reloading my stuff, and then I'm going to kill him. So that's giving me Devour. So now I can apply Weaken with my sidearm. So we get the Weaken, we get a Jolt Grenade, we get a huge damaging super because he was already weakened, and we have Expanding Abyss. And then there we have Transcendence, so that's going to give us a quicker melee cooldown. And I did that so that I could proc Radiant. Unfortunately, I was a little early with my Prismatic Pop before going in there, so I didn't get my full melee back. But anyways, you can see we still have full armor charge, and we were able to weaken with our grenade, but unfortunately we didn't have Radiant, where I did have a rotation a different time, where I did have Radiant the whole time because I just had orbs in really good places, and we have powerful attraction, like I said, on our class item. So when we do our thruster, it would pick up nearby orbs, but that time I didn't have these set up quite perfect. And there you can see we do have the boss very low, which is good. Like I said, it's going to make an easy 2-phase, so I'm not real stressed. But like I said, I could not get a 1-phase for the life of me. So I just would recommend not even trying to optimize stuff for the 1-phase, but still do what I did with the Envious loading and with the armor charge stacking before damage, because that's well worth it, and you're going to get the most mileage out of the ammo that you have. So there is what I was talking about. I missed a melee because that guy went by me while I was in the smoke, and then so then I just decided to pop Prismatic so that I can get my melee back immediately, because the melee is what runs this build. And it looks like, so Prismatic is 5% extra to weapons, and I think we're getting that here with the sword. And you get some more damage resist, which is nice. So anyways, we went in on the wizard. Yeah, 15 to 10 now. So Prismatic, or Transcendence, also buffs the sword damage. So we got lucky with heavy ammo drops and stuff, so we're like full ammo. I did one proc of bait and switch already. And so yeah, now it's just a matter of taking this guy out. Like I said, it's really not a lot of setup to get to damage on this guy. So it's well worth doing just this little bit of setup and optimization for your damage phase, especially since he's so much more tanky now. So we go get our last relic. We're just going to clean this guy up. And then what I like to do is I like to dunk 2 balls, and then I clean up all the ads on the field. Because every time you dunk a ball, some thrall spawn. So I like to just dunk 2 to get both thrall spawns out of the way. And then those thrall, like I said, those are the guys that you can farm orbs off of. And there, I was just checking that Expanding Abyss was on, because I was like, maybe I'm crazy and maybe this is why I can't do the 1-phase. But no, it was on. The boss is just that much tankier now. So now we're gonna go dunk the other ball. And then I left those ads up there. I leave the ads at Shrieker, because the ads at Knight and Wizard, they can be annoying when you're fighting them, but the Shrieker just goes down so quick. So I like to leave the ads up at Shrieker, Because now look, I'm just farming armor charge off them with my melee, again, from heavy-handed on my gloves. And that's why I run triple heavy-handed, so that there's no cooldown on it. So there, I accidentally hit that guy, and I was like, oh shit. Because normally I want to keep him upright. I would get him low health and then kill him with Buried Bloodline so that I can have Devour. But it's not a big deal. We still have some Thrall on the field, which is actually helpful because I can punch them to get Radiant. But I decided to throw out the Weaken melee, or Weaken grenade, and then that's going to make my Twilight Arsenal... I know Twilight Arsenal weakens, but it makes my first axe deal more damage as well. So, again, we get the Weaken, and then that first axe is also benefiting from Expanding Abyss. So yeah, we hit for a ton of damage, and then I don't even have to shoot my GL. So yeah, that is the solo flawless clear for Pit of Heresy. I hope you enjoyed and learned something, and good luck in getting that emblem. And if you're still watching, thanks so much for watching to the end. Like and subscribe and all that stuff, and take care.